Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories, where we play tales to take you away from today. You know, some podcasts just make me happy.
You're a lucky fella, aren't you?
Agreed. Sometimes they're just that good.
Wow!
Take today, for example. On the show, we have mistakes, stories, and history.
I like that.
And it all comes together in a seamless cohesion of symphonic magistry.
Huh.
So waiting seems pointless. Here is a 5-minute mystery.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by fire, one of man's oldest inventions. When we made fire, we were really on to something. And we even drive grasshoppers into a cooking pit using it. Don't believe me? Check out Monopolis.
This has been your noonday program of news. The weather for this afternoon is cloudy and overcast, with probably showers this evening.
Why do you bother with that radio, Wrighton? There's never anything new.
What else is there to do around a firehouse eatings?
Sleep and go to fires.
We'll be going to enough fires, all right, if they don't catch that arsonist who's been trying to burn up the whole city.
Yeah, I'd like to get my hands on that devil.
Maybe we will, Edens. Maybe we will.
Holy smoke, here we go again.
Watch that baby burn.
Looks like the end of the world, doesn't it?
If they don't get their bloodhounds after that firebug, it soon will be.
Hey, who's that guy the chief's dragging along here?
I don't know, but he's really got a grip on his arm.
Maybe it's the firebug.
Hey, Chief, who's the man you're holding?
The rat who's been setting all these fires.
Where are you taking him?
Down to the station. Put out this blaze and hurry along.
You hear that, Wrighton? Pour on the water. I want to see a firebug get singed.
You still deny that you set that fire?
Let me call my lawyer. You can't question me this way. It's illegal.
Let me go to work on him, Chief.
That won't be necessary, Edens. I'm sure this prolific arsonist will come clean in just a few minutes.
You got no proof?
You were seen running out of the burning building just as the engines pulled up. How did the fire start?
Listen, pal, I tell you I don't know. Now will you let me go?
Why did you wait till the fire had gained so much headway before you finally ran out?
I just woke up and I heard your sirens drawing near the building.
Listen, my friend. We're out to break this cycle of arson that's been slowly destroying the city. You're in for some pretty rough weather ahead unless you come clean and tell me how that fire started. The sooner you give me the truth, the easier it'll go with you.
All right, Chief, I'll play ball with you. The whole fire was an accident.
What?
Yeah, I swear it was. I really went in there to get some sleep. And when I woke up, I lit a cigarette. That was my big mistake. The building was so old it was almost falling apart, and there were cobwebs hanging all over the place. While I was shaking out the flame of the match, it hit some of the cobwebs hanging from the low beams, and that was it. Webs caught fire and spread to the roof, and the dry wood began to burn in a flash.
What do we do now, Chief?
Take him to the police and book him on a charge of arson. His story shows that he deliberately set that fire.
What lie in the firebug's story did the chief detect? In just a moment, we'll know, but first...
Okay, I think this guy's guilty too. But I happen to know that in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, spider webs do burn. Does that save this guy? No. So, let's head back and see if I'm right, or whatever. Remember, this 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by fire, nature's way of balancing the universe.
And now, back to our story.
What are you talking about, Chief? I told you it was an accident.
If it was, you would have told a different story. You see, there was one very important flaw in your story that condemned it as a lie.
Prove it.
You said that the cobwebs caught fire and spread to the roof. Well, I'm afraid that isn't quite accurate. Unfortunately for you, cobwebs don't flame. All right, boys, take him away. Our firebug needs cooling off.
Well, there you have it. An arsonist is caught by using a fact that may not be a fact at all. Really? This 5-Minute Mystery was brought to you by fire, one of man's oldest inventions. When we made fire, we were really on to something. We cook with it, temper objects in it, and we even bend loop stirring sticks for stone boiling. How about that? The date is June 6th, 1944. On the previous morning, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Commander of Allied forces in Europe, gave the go-ahead for Operation Overlord. This was to be the largest amphibious military operation in history. By dawn, British and Canadian troops overcame light opposition to capture Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches. So did the Americans at Utah. The task was much tougher at Omaha Beach. Over 2,000 troops were lost, and it was only through tenacity that the objective was achieved. By day's end, 155,000 Allied troops had successfully stormed Normandy's beaches. What you're about to hear is a collection of news reports from that day.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is a special bulletin read by John Snag. D-Day has come. Early this morning, the Allies began the assault on the northwestern face of Hitler's European fortress. The first official news came just after 9:30, when Supreme Headquarters of the Allied Expeditionary Force, usually called SHAPE from its initials, issued Communique Number 1. This said, under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
The paratroops are landing. They're landing all around me as I speak. They've come in from the sea and they're fluttering down, red, white and blue parachutes fluttering down, and they're just about the best thing that we've seen for a good many hours. They're showering in. There's no other word for it.
From where I am, standing between the two pilots of this glider, I can see the navigation lights of the tug in front of us, and off to left and right, the navigation lights of other tugs and other gliders bound on the same mission. Circling above from time to time, I can see the lights of the fighter screen, which is protecting us. And looking back down the glider, there are seated, although I can't see them in the half light, officers and men, all laden up with equipment so heavily that they can barely walk. But they've got to carry with them the means by which they can fight the moment they land. It's just about 9 o'clock and a whole mass of gliders has just come in, having been towed across the channel from Britain. They've received a particularly severe welcome from the German Ack defences, and the flak has been going up from all around us. I can see about 4 or 5 coming in through the trees, skimming very low over the ploughed field and coming into touchdown. There'll barely be room for them.
All hands to beaching station.
This is the day and this is the hour. The sky is lightening over the coast of Europe as we go in. The sun is blazing down brightly now. It's almost like an omen, the way it suddenly come out just as we were going in. The whole sky is bright, the sea is a glittering mass of silver, with all these craft of every kind moving across it, and the great battleships in the background blazing away at the shore.
People of Western Europe. A landing was made this morning on the coast of France by troops of the Allied Expeditionary Force. This landing is part of the concerted United Nations plan for the liberation of Europe, made in conjunction with our great Russian allies. I have this message for all of you. Although the initial assault may not have been made in your own country, the hour of your liberation is approaching.
Have you ever thought about becoming a detective? I think most of us have at least thought about how much fun it would be. Our OTR story for today gives us a glimpse into that world from the unique point of view of Blake Edwards. Has there ever been a better scriptwriter when it comes to detectives than Blake? I, for one, really doubt it. He has that special flair needed to bring the hard-boiled detective to life. Well, if you haven't guessed, the OTR tale for this episode is from the pen of Blake Edwards. It stars Dick Powell, and I'm quite proud to tell you that it is a Richard Diamond mystery. This one has a cooler than cool aspect to it that I'll talk more about after the story. But for now, please enjoy Richard Diamond, Private Detective in The Private Eye Test. It first aired on April 19th, 1950.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, Private Detective.
All right, Shamus, hand it over. Let's have it.
Have what?
I ain't got time to play games. This time you gotta believe me. This time I'm unhappy, so hand it over.
You're not making it very easy.
I'm gonna make it a lot tougher.
How much tougher can things get?
You'd be surprised. I've waited a long time for this.
Well, I guess everything comes to he who waits.
You won't have to wait anymore. You know something? I don't mind killing you at all.
Here's another exciting half hour with Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell.
Diamond Detective Agency, homicide made easy. With us, it's the corpse that counts.
Oh, I just don't think I'll ever get used to it.
Hi, Helen.
Hi. What are you doing?
Right now, nothing. But I've been considering a few push-ups or something just to keep my heart going. I've been sitting behind this desk so long my blood doesn't circulate anymore. It just lies around in puddles.
Oh, Rick.
Morning, Mr. Diamond.
Oh, hold it a second, honey. Morning, Phil.
Who's Phil?
The postman.
Oh.
Special delivery for you. Return receipt on it. Here, sign right here.
Sure. Okay, there you are, Phil.
Okay. See you later, Mr. Diamond.
Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah, yes, dear?
Well, what is it?
Well,
what does the postman want?
wanted to give me a letter.
Oh?
Special delivery. From the City Hall.
Oh, must be important. What does it say?
Let's see. It says, Mr. Richard Diamond, address, so on and so forth. Oh, here. Dear sir, you are hereby notified that under the laws of this state, you can be called... Oh, for Pete's sake.
Well, what's the matter?
Of all the rotten...
Oh, stop making noises and tell me what's wrong.
You know what this stupid letter is about?
I've been trying to find out.
I, honey, have got to report to the police commission and get examined.
Oh, Rick, have you caught something?
Dear, in this state, the commission can call in any private detective and give him a test to find out whether or not he can still qualify to keep on operating.
You mean they give you a test like in school?
You're darn right. Oh, and it says here I've got to appear today.
Well, what if you don't?
Well, I lose the bond I had to post when I took out my license.
Oh, Rick, you better get right down there.
Oh, and here's something else that's real cute. Guess where I have to take the test?
Walt's precinct. Has to be.
Yeah, aren't they the little devils? Report to Lieutenant Walter Levinson, 5th Precinct, homicide.
What time, Rick?
Time? 10 minutes ago.
Oh, bye, Rick.
It was 10 after 11 when I hung up on Helen. It was 12 after when I hit the street. The 5th Precinct was a good 10 blocks away, and I was bounding into the squad room by 11:18. Needless to say, it put a horrible strain on several unused ligaments. 4 or 5 boys in my charming profession were there ahead of me.
Well, boys, it looks like the commission's serious this time. When they start dragging in their pets, namely one Richard Diamond, you can bet the heads are going to start rolling.
What if the heads do start rolling, Romero? You got a spare?
That's very...
Hey, Shamus, you're late.
Well, Sergeant Otis, do you need a shave, or you been sleeping with your head on a porcupine?
I ain't got no time for your crummy jokes, Diamond. Take a seat and wait your turn.
Thank you, Otis.
By the by, You're the last on the list.
That figured.
Yeah, take a seat, Diamond. Last on the list, huh? Looks like you don't swing as much weight as you thought you did.
At least now I can understand the reason for this examination.
Oh, you can, huh?
Sure. Guys like you, Romero, would make it necessary to clean up any organization.
Oh, I take it you don't think I'm a credit to the profession, huh, Diamond?
Take it any way you like, but stick with the first guess.
Oh, what's the matter, Rick? Maybe I'm taking some of your business away, huh?
Look, Romero, the kind of business you handle would keep me buying too much disinfectant. And as long as you're asking what's wrong, I'll tell you. 2 things.
Yeah?
You're a lousy detective, and you'd burn your grandmother if there was enough money in it.
Oh, okay. What's the second beef, Ricky?
You just said it. You want to talk to me, it's Mr. Diamond. You slip again, and I'll put your jaw in a position so you won't forget.
Is that right?
Oh, get out of my way, Romero.
Oh, sure, Mr. Diamond.
Hey, Rick, can I see you a minute?
Yeah, by all means, see your friends and have a good talk about me.
Oh, what is it, Alan?
I just thought you might be more comfortable over here. I would have called you sooner. I was kind of hoping you might lay one on Romero.
Oh, I'd love to bust his face up. There's just no excuse for him.
Okay, so we all got our bonds to worry about. Relax, you got a long wait.
Okay, Diamond, it's your turn now.
Not really.
Go on in. Sorry you had to wait so long.
Thank you, Sergeant Otis. You're very kind. If I'd waited any longer, I'd have been numb. And don't ask me where.
Now, come in, Rick. Bring your slate pencil.
Yeah.
Sit down, Mr. Diamond.
In a nice, soft chair? Oh, I'm afraid I couldn't do that, Lieutenant. I've gotten so used to that bench outside, sort of grown to fit it, you might say.
Oh, now, Rick, I'm sorry, but there was nothing I could do about it.
Mr. Diamond, Lieutenant.
Huh? Oh, yeah. I hear you've been giving that to a lot of people lately. Otis tells me you and Pat Romero had some kind of discussion along those lines.
Why doesn't the government stick Otis out on the beach somewhere and use him for radar? Let him look for flying saucers.
Rick, there's no sense in acting like a child.
The name is Diamond.
Since when?
Since 2 hours of solid sitting, Lieutenant.
Okay, Mr. Diamond. Unfortunately, the commission set this thing up, Mr. Diamond. I had nothing to do with it, Mr. Diamond. As for your waiting, there's enough hard feelings about your relations with this department. If I put you at the head of the list, Mr. Diamond...
shut up.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. Mr. Diamond.
Mr. Diamond.
That's better.
It certainly is. Here's the first half of the examination paper. You'll get the second half later. Write the answers to these questions.
How long have I got?
Take your time. Still mad?
Yeah.
Oh.
So for the next 30 minutes, I wrote. I wrote, and Walt stewed. It was something I could always count on with Walt, and being my best friend, he never had been able to get used to it. I looked up and caught him a couple of times, looking out of the corner of his eye to make sure I was getting them right. Don't misunderstand, Walt would never give me the answers. He'd just cough or blow his nose or something to show me I wasn't on the right track. Oh. Oh? Huh. There you are, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Mr. Diamond.
Am I finished?
You most certainly are not. Like the others before you, Mr. Diamond, you will have to solve, to my complete satisfaction, a hypothetical case of homicide. And then come back here and fill in the second half of the examination.
Oh, for Pete's sake, Walt. I did that in police school.
It's oh, for Pete's sake, Lieutenant.
Oh, all right.
One moment, Mr. Diamond. I'll get the man who's going to give you the test. Otis.
Yeah, Lieutenant?
Oh, no.
Would you mind coming in here and taking Mr. Diamond down to the basement?
He's ready for the test, huh?
Yes, Sergeant. He's ready.
Now, there's a dummy in that room there, Diamond.
You sure leave yourself wide open, Otis.
Thanks. Now the dummy, or in this case, the victim, has been murdered. You will go in and try to solve the murder to the best of your ability. If you are intelligent and observing, you will locate the necessary clues which have been placed about the room. Go on in.
How long have I got, Sergeant?
30 minutes, starting now. Go ahead in.
Otis! Otis!
Oh, now come on, Shamus. You ain't gonna tell me you solved it already.
No, Otis, I ain't. But there's something I think you should know.
Yeah, what?
There are 2 victims in this room. And I hate to be the one to tell you, but I'm afraid one of them isn't really a dummy.
What do you mean?
One of them is a body, and it's very dead. Get the lieutenant. Well, there you are, Walt. Pat Romero, shot through the head.
Oh, no. Shut the door, Otis.
Yeah.
And lock it. Stand in front of it. Don't let anybody in. How did this happen? How did Romero get shot in my department? Oh, what'll the commissioners say?
Lieutenant...
You shut up.
Walt, relax. Will you take it easy now?
Oh, sure. Relax. Take it easy. When the commissioner hears about this, I'll have a lot of time to relax on a beat in Flatbush.
Look, Walt...
And the newspapers. What's going to happen when they get wind of this?
Listen, Walt...
Private detective shot in lab room of 5th Precinct. Homicide. Relax. Take it easy. Sure.
Well, at least shut up long enough to hear what I've got to say.
Rick, what am I going to do?
Well, now listen to me. If we can solve this thing before anyone gets wind of it, maybe it won't be so bad.
You're right. Maybe it won't.
We'll keep this room closed up as long as possible.
Otis, if you let anyone in here, I'll personally see that you never... Where are you going, Diamond?
I'm going to Romero's office. I'll call you from there. Make a check on his body and have all the dope ready for me.
Oh, don't you worry about the dope, Rick. I've got more dope in this department than any other in the whole world. I've got the biggest. Otis.
Yeah, Lieutenant?
Walt chased Otis up the wall, and I headed for Pat Romero's office. Everything was happening so fast, I didn't take time to think much past the fact that the private detective profession had taken a step in the right direction when someone retired Romero. But Walt was in a spot, and someone had broken the law, so it looked like it was up to me to try and tie things together. I got to Romero's building, went up to the 8th floor, tripped over a couple of rats having a nervous breakdown because they couldn't find their way out, found his office, opened the door, and started feeling sorry for myself right away. Oh. I never saw him. All I remember is something black and shiny in front of my face just as I hit the floor. When I tried to take a better look, the bright, shiny something kissed me right in the mouth, and I went to sleep the hard way. When I finally came around, it was like trying to tiptoe through an acre of beach balls. I stumbled a couple of times, spit out a little blood. Very little, because the way I felt, there couldn't have been too much left. When I finally got around to a normal way of thinking, I perceived 2 things. It was still daytime, and the office of one Mr. Pat Romero, deceased, was a wreck.
Fifth Precinct homicide.
Well?
Who is this first?
Oh, now, come on. This is Diamond.
Well, I thought so, but I'm not going to admit anything for a while, even my name.
Anyone find out about...
Shh, no. What did you find out?
Well, I walked into his office and got my brains scattered.
By whom?
By whom? I don't know. I wish I did. I have a very sore head.
Well, Romero was shot all right, but we can't find the bullet.
Well, it's not a very big room.
We'll find it, but in the meantime, here's something else. Romero had $10,000 in cash on him. New bills.
Go ahead.
That's all we've come up with so far. We'll have more to go on when we find that bullet.
Well, maybe it's still in him.
Went clean through. Messed up his pretty patent leather haircut.
What?
What do you mean, what? I said the bullet...
Oh, never mind, Walt. Bless your little pointed head. You just gave me an idea.
About what?
About the guy who worked me over a little while ago.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. Hurry up and find that missing bullet. Walt had said something about patent leather when he referred to Romero's greasy hairdo. That was all I needed. It opened a door someplace, and there, sitting with its legs crossed, was the biggest hunch I've ever seen. And it was wearing patent leather shoes. The only guy I could think of who would know a man like Romero and still wear patent leather shoes in the afternoon was a local gambler with a reputation as a fashion plate, monocle, striped trousers, and always the patent leather shoes. In fact, that's where he got his nickname, the Patent Leather Kid. This was a small clue, and I knew it, but one thing was in my favor. Anyone who would tear up Romero's office and kick me in the face had to be a bad little boy, and the Patent Leather Kid was typecasting. The kid's real name was Amos Fletcher, and he ran a small club over on 14th Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, my friend, but the... Well...
Hello, Fletcher.
I was going to say I'm sorry, my friend, but the place isn't open until 6.
I got a few questions.
Come back at 6.
Fletcher, I'm a little unhappy right about now. You answer the questions like a good boy, or I'll kick you all over the place.
You mind if I call a few of my boys to watch?
If you like. Tell them I got a .38 under my arm that goes off when I get excited. Got a few questions.
Come back at 6.
Fletcher, I'm a little unhappy right about now. You answer the questions like a good boy, or I'll kick you all over the place.
You mind if I call a few of my boys to watch?
If you like. Tell them I got a .38 under my arm that goes off when I get excited. Tell them I sort of lose my head when I get kicked in the mouth and don't get the answers I want. I think you better believe me.
So you got kicked in the mouth?
Yeah, by a pair of patent leather shoes, just like yours.
I had nothing to do with it.
You know a guy named Romero?
Romero? No, I don't know a guy by that name.
Where were you an hour ago?
Right here. I have a couple of friends to prove it. We were playing cards, canasta.
Okay.
I'm glad you're satisfied, Mr. Diamond.
Who said I was satisfied?
No?
Not a bit.
Well, what about this Romero?
He got himself shot.
Badly?
As bad as you can get shot.
Well, Shamus, that's a chance you boys take. Maybe Romero would have lived longer in another racket. Think about it, Shamus.
I'll think about it, Fletcher. I'll think about it a long time.
Good. Let me know what you decide.
You'll hear about it.
Homicide, 5th Precinct.
Walt, check and find out where Amos Fletcher does his banking. See if he's made any big withdrawals lately.
Patent leather kid? What's he got to do with it?
Just check.
Okay.
What about the bullet? Have you found that yet?
No.
Oh, swell. Did you find anything else?
A bunch of stuff in Romero's wallet.
What?
Oh, driver's license, social security number, some business cards. Card from a real estate office that might be important.
Why should it be?
A notation on the back. Says call Miss Crockett about new lease. Date after that. Yesterday.
New lease? Romero has an office. Wonder what this new lease is.
Why don't you check? Crockett Real Estate, Lexington Avenue.
Bye.
Au revoir.
What?
Something I could... Well.
Good afternoon.
Ain't it though? Dull as can be before you rolled them gorgeous shoulders through that door. Sit down, Sonny. Relax. Have yourself a drink.
No thanks. A little early in the day for me.
A little early. Well, you'll excuse me, won't you, Sonny? If it gets any later, my stomach's liable to rust. Get it?
Yeah, all over me.
What's your name, Sonny? Gotta know, if I'm going to sell you some real estate. Play football in school, Sonny? Figures. Oh, look at them shoulders.
Look, sweetheart.
Huh? What did you say?
I said, look, sweetheart.
Oh.
Why?
No sense in raising all these goosebumps for nothing. Sweetheart, huh? Well, what can I do for you, Sonny? You want Madison Avenue at 50 cents a front foot?
Hey, that's pretty good.
Sure you won't have a drink, Sonny?
No, thanks. I'd just like to ask you one question.
Go right ahead, Sonny. I may not look it, but I'm considered one of the best real estate agents in this state.
Do you know a man named Romero?
Sure, I know him.
Did you just rent him some offices?
Yep. Signed the lease yesterday. A whole new suit of offices over on 46th Street.
46th Street? Where on 46?
Oh, right there. Say, are you a cop?
What makes you think that?
Oh, I don't know. Romero's offices are right across from the police station.
The 5th Precinct.
Sonny, you bother me. You're too nervous. Now, why don't you just sit down and get comfortable and we'll
What
talk...
building are the offices in?
Carson building on the 4th floor. But why don't you just take it easy, Sonny?
Thanks, sweetheart.
Oh, you devil, you.
Now, look, Rick, we know Romero was shot in this room while he was either sitting or kneeling.
Because the bullet entered his head at a high angle.
Yeah.
I think he was shot with a rifle, Walt.
A rifle?
Yeah, from across the street. Romero rented some new offices in the Carson building, directly opposite this building. I just saw them. Somebody tore those apart, too.
Well, I checked on Amos Fletcher. Does his banking at the National. Made a withdrawal this morning, $10,000 in new bills. Who is it?
Otis.
Come on in.
Has the Shamus solved it yet, Lieutenant?
Well, come here.
Yeah?
Now, look, 4th floor. Carson building right over there. See the open window?
Yeah?
Now, if someone in one of those offices fired a rifle, and there's no bullet hole in the lower portion of the window in this room, that means it went through the open part. So Romero would have to be standing, let's say about right here.
Well, that would make the slug somewhere out in the hall.
Right.
But it would have to pass through the door. There's no hole in the door.
Hey, the door was open when me and the Shamus came down here.
That's right, Walt. Let's see if we can find that bullet.
What was Romero doing down here?
Oh, he was just finishing this part of the test when I went up to get Diamond.
Hey, Walt.
Huh?
I think I got the bullet. Yeah.
Under the rug?
Yeah, you'll have to pry it out. It's in the floor pretty deep.
Okay. Who did you go after? Amos Fletcher?
That's right.
What's your proof?
Not much. It's all a guess. You know what kind of a guy Romero was.
Yeah, the worst.
Well, let's see. Romero had $10,000 in his pocket. Fletcher took out $10,000 this morning.
Sounds like blackmail.
Could be. Somebody was tearing Romero's old office apart looking for something when I broke in on him. And got a patent leather shoe in the face for my trouble.
That isn't very much to go on.
Well, how about this? I asked Fletcher if he knew Romero. He said no. But as I left, he mentioned that Romero probably got killed because, like myself, he was in the wrong racket. How did he know that?
Well, still not enough to convict him.
Would a confession do it, Grouchy?
You know darn good and well a confession is the only thing that would do it. That or find the murder weapon and prove it belongs to Fletcher.
No, you're so technical. Okay, I'm going back to the office. Give me about 10 minutes and have Otis call Fletcher.
Oh? Have Otis call Fletcher?
Oh, not as Sergeant Otis. Just have him call and give Fletcher a friendly tip. From the way those two offices were torn up, it's my guess that Fletcher hasn't found what he's looking for yet. Just tell him I found it.
Found what?
Found anything. You don't have to be specific.
Who said I was gonna be?
Gonna be what, you mallet head?
Specific.
You don't even know what it means.
It means precisely formulated or restricted.
Huh?
Oh, here, I got the bullet out of the floor, Lieutenant.
Bye, Walt. I left the precinct and headed back for Broadway in my office on the corner of 53rd. I knew that Amos Fletcher, the patent leather kid, was the boy we wanted. But whether or not he'd fall for the gag was a matter of luck. Luck is a big part of my business. So I went to my office and sat on behind my desk to wait. In case Amos Fletcher showed up, I wanted to be sure to be able to hold up my end of the conversation. So I took out my .38 and put it across my knees. Diamond Detective Agency. If you've slaughtered a dozen, no difference to me. 1 or 50, it's the same old fee.
What kind of a remark is that, Shamus?
What kind of remark did it sound like, Sergeant?
I ain't got time to answer that. I called Fletcher.
Good. What did you tell him?
Well, I was pretty good, as a matter of fact. I disguised my voice like this, and I says, Amos Fletcher, and he says, yeah. So I says, just a little tip I thought you might want to know about. Richard Diamond has got that which you has been looking for. He found it in Romero's new offices. How was that, Shamus?
Brilliant change of voice.
You think it'll work?
Put down the phone.
You hear me, Shamus? You think it'll work?
Hang it up.
Hey, Diamond!
Oh, that's better. All right, Shamus, let's have it.
Have what?
I haven't got time to play games. This time you've got to believe me. This time I'm unhappy, so hand it over.
You're making it pretty tough, Fletcher.
I'm going to make it a lot tougher.
Oh. Oh, now, isn't that a pretty big gun to be carrying around?
It's a little big, sure, but it does everything I want it to.
Mm-hmm. A German Schmeischer, isn't it?
That's right.
Put a stock on it, and you could shoot it like a rifle.
I'm going to count 3, and then I'm just going to shoot it. Now, why don't you be smart and give me the stuff? Let it ring.
It might be a paying client.
It might. Let it ring.
You shot Pat Romero from his new offices across the street from the 5th Precinct, didn't you, Fletcher?
Is that what you say?
Yeah. What was he doing, blackmailing you? You gave him $10,000 sometime today.
You know, you're talking yourself right into a long box.
Why did you shoot him in a police station?
I paid him the $10,000 and he handed me the stuff, and I thought it was a McCoy. I went back to my office and started checking through this stuff. That phone's gonna bother me!
There. You checked the stuff back in your office and you found out it was phony. You got worried, went back to Romero's offices. He wasn't there. He was across the street in the 5th Precinct. You spotted him through the window and shot him.
That's right, Shamus. I saw him talking to a cop and figured he might be spilling his guts. I waited until the cop left and I nailed him. Now, give me the stuff.
You'll have to believe me, Fletcher. I haven't got it.
Don't give me that. I got a tip.
Sure you did. That was Sergeant Otis from Homicide.
You're crazy.
Am I? He said, just a little tip I thought maybe you might want to know about. Richard Diamond has got that which you has been looking for. What did Romero have on you?
Some records. You know something, Diamond? I don't mind killing you at all.
Drop it, Fletcher.
What?
I got Walt.
Fletcher.
How is he, Walt?
Pretty bad. I didn't know you had a gun, Rick.
Neither did Fletcher.
Diamond,
Yeah?
phone for a doctor. Hurry.
I'll do it, Rick. Hey, who tore this phone out of the wall?
Fletcher got tired of hearing it ring.
What's that you're playing, Rick?
Oh, it's an old thing.
Oh. Yes.
Hello, Helen. This is Walt.
Yes, Walt, he's right here.
Thanks, Dan. Hello, Walt.
Rick, we found the stuff Romero was blackmailing Fletcher with in a safety deposit box. A bunch of books that exposed one of Fletcher's old rackets, enough to send him away for life.
Well, bully for you.
Oh, and something else. You better get down here right away.
What for?
You didn't finish your test. You don't want to flunk it, do you?
What?
You got the first part all right. The hypothetical part I can cover for you. But you didn't do anything on the last part of the written examination.
Now, you listen to me, Fatty.
Fatty?
The fattest. I've chased my head off solving a case and getting your big feet...
Big feet?
Big feet out of trouble. I've gotten shot at, insulted, kicked in the face.
Well, those things...
I don't want to hear any more of your lame-brained excuses. You just fix it up for me, and I'm going to go in and drop a few subtle hints to the commissioner about his nasty old lieutenant.
You wouldn't.
Oh, but I would. What did you say?
Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Take the test for me. Fill out the answers yourself. Cheat.
Cheat?
Cheat.
But...
Oh, that's what you always say.
Now, what were we talking about?
Oh, honey, you were asking me about this little old song.
Pretty. What is it?
Oh, well, give a listen. Oh, how I miss you tonight. Miss you when lights are low. Oh, how I need you tonight. More than you'll ever know. Each moment, though we're apart, you're never out of my heart. But I'd rather be lonely and wait for you only. Oh, pal, how I miss you tonight. Okay?
Oh, it's very pretty. Shall I?
Might as well.
Yes.
May I please speak to Mr. Diamond?
Oh, my goodness, Rick.
Walt?
Yes, but look out.
Oh, all right. Hello.
You passed, Mr. Diamond, 99 out of 100.
99 out of 100, Which one did I miss?
The last one. I knew you wouldn't care, so I let Otis fill it in for you.
No.
Yes, the commissioner wants to see you tomorrow morning.
Why? What was the question?
To what department does the cleanup squad belong?
Well, what did Otis write for an answer?
The Department of Sanitation. Tomorrow at 11, Rick. Au revoir.
You have just heard Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell. Ed Begley played Lieutenant Walt Levinson. Also in the cast were Wilms Herbert, Francis Robinson, Don Diamond, Ann Morrison, and Paul Dubov. Music was under the direction of Frank Worth. Today's show was written by Blake Edwards and directed by Russell Hughes. Dick Powell currently may be seen in the motion picture version of the best-selling novel, Mrs. Mike. This is Eddie King inviting you to be with us next Sunday at this same time when we will again bring you Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, Private Detective. What's on NBC today? One of the finest programs in NBC's Sunday lineup of stellar entertainment is Theater Guild on the Air. Later today, be sure to hear Richard Widmark and Teresa Wright in the romantic comedy There's Always Juliet. That's Richard Widmark and Teresa Wright on Theater Guild on the Air today on this NBC station. Next, hear James Melton and Harvest of Stars on NBC.
What did you think of that one? It showed us a behind-the-scenes look at the life of a detective. The test that Diamond had to take was no joke. Anyone who wants to have a private investigator's license must pass a written exam and a psych evaluation before they can hang out their shingle. It's true. In fact, you have to have at least 3 years of compensated experience in investigative work, or have a law degree, or completed a 4-year course in police science, plus 2 years of experience. So your average PI has paid his dues. Good to know. We will continue this subject in the next segment.
What's that you say?
Well, I have to say, I want to tell you more about becoming a detective. Remember that I said that you had to pass an exam to get your license? Well, I decided to go find out more about that. I was able to find a practice test. It comes from the U.S. Marshal's Office. Now, do you want to see how you would do? Well, no time like the present. Let's get started with a few sample questions from the test. Which of the following types of records are not made available to the public by the Freedom of Information Act? A. FBI records. B. Records held by the United States Congress. C. Social Security Administration records. Or D. Military records. Well, if you said records held by the United States Congress, you are correct. Next question. Which of the following would be the best question to ask during an interrogation? A. You were at the bowling alley last night, weren't you? B. Were you at the bowling alley last night? C. Why were you at the bowling alley last night? Or D. You weren't at the bowling alley last night, were you? If you picked C, you got it right. Which of the following is a focus of criminalists? A. Toxicology. B. Orthodontiology. C. Pathology. Or D. Voice spectroscopy. Spectroscopy. Oh my goodness.
Spectroscopy.
Spectroscopy. Or D. Voice spectroscopy.
Spectroscopy.
Or D.
Spectroscopy.
Spectroscopy. Or D. Voice spectroscopy.
Spectroscopy.
Or D. Voice spectroscopy. If you said D, then you got the right answer, and I gotta tell you, I had a heck of a time saying that one. Oh dear. Next question. An oral statement made outside of the courtroom and then introduced during the trial is called a interrogatory, B. deposition, C. initial conference, D. request for production. If you said B, deposition, you're correct. And the last question. In what direction do subjects typically look when they're recalling information? A, up, B, down, C, left, D, right. If you said A, then you're right, and we've come to the end of the test. Now, actually, there's going to be a lot more questions on the test than we had here today, that is for sure. But this does give you an idea of what kinds of things you need to know if you want to become a private detective. And now this.
As read by. Amazing stories read by amazing people.
This time on As Read By, we have a story sent in by Mary Newcomb. Mary's husband, Mark, sent in a story to last week's Horror Express, so I'm guessing these two like the show. Thank you for your support. Mary sends us her UFO encounter, and I personally could not be more happy about it. We've had a real drought on UFO type of stories. So, here is her story that I call Campfire Lights. I decided this time to let the computer read this one. I hope you like it.
It was the last day of a camping trip to Campbell Point Campground in Stone County, Missouri. Mark and I had planned a hike for the day and were both excited about it. It was only a 3-mile trek that followed Crane Creek, but we had heard about the abundance of wildlife and the wonderful sights to behold. We were not disappointed. We took many pictures that day, but it was the very last one that compels me to tell this story. We were on the return trail and were talking about all the things we had seen that day. It was Mark that noticed the lights in the meadow below us. It was late afternoon and we both thought that they were a campfire of some sort, but it was spread out. We thought we should go look in case some careless folk had left a cooking fire alone. We climbed down the creek bed and crossed the rushing water. It was late summer, so there was no chance of being pulled away. We came up the other side and what we saw froze us in our tracks. The lights were spinning in a circle in the middle of the field. I can't describe it better than that. They did not appear to have any source. Mark quickly took out his phone to capture the event. As he did, the lights flew up into the sky and began to slowly move off. Then with a big whoosh and bang, they were gone. The picture we took, of course, turned out awful. I attached it for you if you want to see. In order to find anything at all, we had to convert it to black and white. The remnant of the lights appear as a smoky color in the upper right of the photo. We don't know what we saw, but that is our one and only UFO story. Mary Newcomb.
Well, I have to say that that's a pretty good story, and I want to thank you two for sharing it with us. I have put the photo that Mark took in the show notes, but like Mary said, if you're looking for proof in this photo, it's not too good. I have put an arrow on the picture where I think Mary is talking about. If you have a story that you want to share with Ron's Amazing Stories, please just do it. You can use the contact page on the main website or send it to ronsamazingstories@gmail.com. Please remember that it is your stories that fuel Ron's Amazing Stories.
Use Ajax, the foaming cleanser. Clean pots and pans, just like a whiz.
Ajax cuts grease faster than any other leading cleanser.
Use the pain, the elbow tax, when you start cleaning with Ajax.
Ajax really polishes as it cleans.
So use Ajax, the foaming cleanser. Flush the dirt right down the drain.
My gosh, they're right. Foaming action Ajax makes even the dirtiest pan shine like new in a jiffy.
So use Ajax.
enjoyed today's podcast. It surely was a pleasure to bring it to you. This particular episode I enjoyed. I like learning new things, and learning a little bit about the detective was a lot of fun for me. Coming up next week, we will have Suspense Week. I don't want to tell you any more than that because I plan to keep you
on suspense.
If you want to keep up with what's happening on Ron's Amazing Stories, please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or sign up for the weekly newsletter. All the links you'll need and access to the blog can be found at ronsamazingstories.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.